The Starr and D'Amico Show is brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. If you're looking for quality gear without overpaying, shop cheapesttshirts.ca. Huge selection for men, women, and kids. Tees, hoodies, headwear, bags, and more. Proud Montreal business. Order today, ship today, delivery tomorrow. That's cheapesttshirts.ca. Local, fast, and affordable. Brought to you by instacustoms.com. Do you need custom gear from a local Montreal business? Instacustoms.com has you covered. Custom shirts, hoodies, hats, and more made your way. Fast turnaround, great quality, and proudly Montreal-based. Check out instacustoms.com. Brought to you by Cabletel. For trusted alarm systems in Quebec and Eastern Ontario, choose Cabletel. Over 20 years of expert installation and top-tier protection for homes and businesses. Check out Cabletel.com. Email them info@Cabletel.com. It's Cabletel. Peace of mind you can count on. Brought to you by Morella's Steakhouse. Looking for an unforgettable night out? Morella's Steakhouse on Highway 132. It's just 15 minutes from Montreal, serving up premium cuts and bold flavors, and no tax on your bill. Book your table tonight at morellassteakhouse.ca. Taste excellence tonight. Brought to you by Little Bear. Give your pet the best with Little Bear Pet Supply. It's a proudly family-owned business here in Montreal for over 30 years. Chuck, Evie, and their all-star staff have you taken care of with all the top brands at the best prices, and they really care for your pets. Shop online at littlebearonline.com or visit them on St. Catherine across from Westmount Square. It's Little Bear Pet Supply. Brought to you by McLean's Pub. Head over to McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street in the heart of downtown Montreal. Great food, cold drinks, and big games on all the screens. McLean's Pub, good times and great company. There's Marco D'Amico. I'm Shaun Starr. Thanks for being with us. You know, Marco, when the men's Olympic hockey tournament got underway, I think hockey fans, regardless of your NHL allegiance, we were all giddy at the return of NHL participation. And here we are still living through the prelims in the aftermath of Slovakia and Sweden in what was a back and forth thrilling game with a massive performance from Canadiens forward Juraj Slafkovsky. But before we get into that, I mean, this tournament so far, again in the prelims, and games are starting to matter more and more, brother. But man, oh man, has this been an unbelievable start to the men's Olympic hockey tournament. Every game has been fun with high-end performances from players that you thought in your club team were garbage, not so much. I mean, the leveling up for their countries, man, has been outstanding, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think, notwithstanding this entire tournament, you're looking at some of the stars be stars here and some lesser known players being, playing on top of their heads right now, like Damian Clara or Hlavaj as well for Slovakia. But for me right now, it's Juraj Slafkovsky, it's Dalibor Dvorsky. Those are guys that are really impressing me right now. I mean, Canadiens fans that watch this know my appreciation for Slafkovsky. And again, it is interesting that you're seeing the way that he can impact a game, not simply just because he's a big body, but how talented he is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 2 points this morning, massive points, goal and primary assist on the Dvorsky goal that could vault them to the top of Group B. We'll see what happens with Finland against the Italians. I think Juraj Slafkovsky's leveling up some more. And, you look at the way that he ended before the Olympic break. He had 16 points in 16 games, 13 of which are even strength points in the month of January. So he was already a point per game player, just, really starting to find his momentum. And I feel like at the Olympics, with an even bigger level of responsibility, he's really finding a stride right now and playing, a man's game and looking like a man out there.
As you mentioned in regards to the Pool B standings, still waiting. Obviously, we're doing this before Finland and Italy square off. And, Sweden had to do a couple of things. They had to win the game and they had to win by a margin of 3. They win 5-3 going away more or less. Elias Pettersson had a pair of goals. We'll dip into Juraj Slafkovsky, right? But I mean, Sweden brought the jam, 53 shots on goal and a tight game. Slafkovsky scores the 3-3 goal. And to your point about what big number 20 has been doing, he's got 10 goals in 10 career Olympic games, or 9 games in one period, essentially. But since December 21st, including his 5 points in 3 games in this tournament, he has 29 points in his last 25 games. I mean, what's kind of turned the corner? If you can put your finger on one or two things about the reputation of second half Slav is not a storyline this year, Marco.
Yeah, well, for all the Slovak fans that are going to watch this video, Strelbu, his shot.
Terrible. Yeah.
I feel like he's getting that shot off faster.
Yeah.
He's got way more, zip on that release. And I also think that the game slowed down a lot for him in the NHL level. So him and Demidov being able to feed off each other, and then Kapanen just kind of being there to, clean up the garbage and be Johnny on the spot in front of the net. I think that combination has worked well, but I think it's giving him the confidence to drive his own line. I think that's a transferable skill that if you bring it to a tournament like this one, where he's being asked to be the guy offensively on that top line with Ruzicka and Tatar, even though it's Tatar in Montreal.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, I enjoy it, but like, again, yes, the offense, but it was Juraj Slafkovsky's play in the last 5 seconds when Slovakia was called for an icing. The goalie was pulled by Sweden. They're in the defensive zone. They get drawn up in the face-off dot. It's a battle for the puck. Juraj Slafkovsky is able to pull out of that battle, get the puck, protect it, send it up the ice, and ensures that Slovakia, they'd lost the game. It's kind of hilarious. They did lose that game 5-3.
That's right.
But secured their best chances of being able to win the group by ensuring that Sweden, who pulled their goalie despite winning 5-3 because they needed that third goal difference in the game to assure themselves the top spot in the division, which they could not do. So elite offensively in this tournament. He's got 6 points in 3 games, but also being used in key defensive situations. This kind of Slafkovsky, I look very much forward to seeing this kind of Slafkovsky in the months of April, May, and potentially June for the Montreal Canadiens moving forward.
I like the way you kind of end your take there, right? Because here we are talking about another multi-point performance, 4 total shots on goal, plays over 21 minutes, average shift length just under 50 seconds. And listen, I mean, the guy's very proud to represent his country. I think very proud to be pretty much looked at as the best player on his national team at this tournament. And to me, like what I read into that, he's thriving under all of those circumstances. I wonder, and I keep wondering now after watching him continue to play in beast mode for Slovakia, what Martin St. Louis, what the Habs front office, I mean, what do they take away from this? I mean, is there a chance in the 25 games that they ask him to do more, put him in situations where he can do more? When we look at the Canadiens' top players, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, I mean, these are the heavy hitters. I wonder if how the narrative around Slafkovsky being the man for Slovakia, how that's translated. Can there be a carryover into the Canadiens' final 25 games?
Carryover in the terms of confidence, probably yes. I don't think it's going to change anything structurally. He's one of the most used wingers on the team. So I don't necessarily see a problem. I think the Canadiens have found success this year because they've balanced their scoring, right? They're one of the top scoring teams in the NHL, not by fluke, but because they have 3 players trending to be point per game players, Lane Hudson, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield. And then they have 2 other ones that are going to be in the 65 to 70 point range, right? That are trending towards that in Ivan Demidov and Juraj Slafkovsky, right? That's huge. So I think that by having that balance, it doesn't really matter who's on line 1, who's on line 2. They're all going to, all the best players on those 2 lines are going to wind up on the same power play at the end of the day. And I think that's where they're going to do damage. But I feel like in the playoffs, look at the way that, the Edmonton Oilers deploy Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the team they play, Draisaitl will slide to second line center, right? And maybe Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goes to third line center. Maybe they put him on left wing with one of the 2 centers on the top 6, but they get that luxury because they have that depth. Well, I feel like that's where the Canadiens are at right now. If you could afford to play Juraj Slafkovsky on a second line and have him drive that line with Ivan Demidov, you have 2 dangerous top 6 lines. And, to me, I think bringing it back to the Olympics, I think that's exactly why, for example, Juraj Slafkovsky doesn't usually play on the same line as Dalibor Dvorsky, because they're trying to spread out the offense a little bit against top teams, for example, like a Finland, like a Sweden.
Is this also like another feather in his cap? Like if I take it back to my question about, being tasked, being looked at as the leader, being looked at as the best player on your national team. That, Marco, when we go back to the Canadian season, when MSL decided to break up a very potent, productive top line of Slafkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield, reassigns him to the second line between Kapanen and Demidov, that there was, again, this conversation that we were having, that the fan base was having, was, look at this guy, the more experienced player on a line kind of taking it over. I mean, I choose to read something into that the more you give him, the more you make him feel like he's the man, that he has a lot of responsibility. He delivered in the regular season, and now here he is delivering for his national team with kind of that same label of be the man, be our best player. And he stepped up again.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a championship winning team, it's always, next man up. If, a championship winning team generally has a handful of stars on them. And I feel like, you have Nick Suzuki, Caulfield. If Ivan Demidov and Juraj Slafkovsky can elevate to be on their level, if not better, then the Canadians are cooking with gasoline right now. And I think that's a great problem to have. And, ultimately for me, it just becomes a question of how high is his ceiling, because if he can continue on that point per game pace, he's going to hit 70 points this season. And if he's able to get an even more, stronger momentum from this tourney, then, power to him. Because now, for example, if Slovakia wins this group, Slovakia is off for 3 days because they go straight to the quarters.
Yeah.
And what does that do? That gives him even more time to rest. So I don't even think going to the Olympics is going to be a tiring thing for him. I don't think that it's going to impact him once he gets back to the NHL. I think it could do nothing but further, give him the affirmation that he is developing into an elite power forward in the NHL.
You touched on something interesting that I also wanted to get your take on. He's going to be 22 at the end of March. I mean, you talk about the projections, maybe, he gets to a 70-point campaign this year, but that's this year, 21 at his 21, 22 age. What about 3 years from now, 4 years from now? I mean, it's amazing about how much growth remains for a lot of the key foundation pieces on the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, I'll put you on the spot. Like, when he's really in his prime, I mean, what do you think the fan base is looking at when it comes to production, role, growth from Big 20?
Point per game power forward.
Point per game.
Depending.
Can I get a hallelujah?
70 to 80 point power forward is what I see from him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I've seen it. I think the fact that he's been able to really become an offensive weapon on the power play, be it just his presence in the bumper or as a net front, I just think that that's excellent. His vision is there. His puck carrying ability is there. And I feel like these are all transferable, quite much to the NHL regular season, but I think it's ever more interesting for the playoffs. I think those kinds of skills that he's developing, being able to play in tight, being able to, play through checks, being able to power through pressure, being able to carry pucks into traffic, all these things are transferable skills in the playoffs that you absolutely need to find success. So I'm less worried about him being a 70 or 80 point winger in the season. If he can be close to a point per game or a point per game winger with that kind of tool set in the playoffs, we call those unicorns in the NHL.
So with Slovakia losing, and Slafkovsky after the game, after the 5-3 loss to Sweden on Saturday morning, said he'd never been so happy despite losing a hockey game, giving them a chance to get to your earlier point, getting the 3 days rest, winning Pool B. So let's wrap up this portion of the conversation before I ask you about Sweden and what you're seeing from them in this tournament. Slovakia looks dangerous. How dangerous are they? I mean, they medaled 4 years ago.
Yeah, there were no NHL players there, and they had the benefit of having some elite talent come through. I think I think Hlavaj has played quite well in net. I think he's been great. I mean, he allowed 5 goals and still had an above 900 save percentage. You never see that ever.
Over 50 shots against. Yeah.
Kudos to him on that. The performances so far. To me, I just don't think that Slovakia has the depth at forward. Their bottom 2 lines are just, they're hardworking, lunch pail kind of players. And I just feel like defensively, like, for example, Simon Nemec, I know has a bright future, but I think gets a little exposed in this tournament. You saw the Lucas Raymond goal where he was just taken inside and out, bad penalties throughout this tournament. So you want to make sure that you shore those things up, and that's all part of maturity. And I feel like Nemec has a ways to go before he gets there. But I think that ultimately the combination of Dvorsky, Slafkovsky, when they put those two together, and you can, complete that line with whoever you want, be it Tatar or whatnot, that to me could be their nuclear option in a tight game when they really have to go. Because I think when you start getting into the quarterfinals, it's all nice and dandy about spreading out your ice time. But when it's like all chips on the table and you lose your out, that's the combination I absolutely want to see.
So Sweden skates off with the 5-3 win. Again,
Mhm.
in order for them to lock down Pool B, they needed the win, and to win by 3, it doesn't happen, right? But what's the takeaway? Joel Eriksson Ek with a goal, Adrian Kempe multi-point performance. Lucas Raymond has a massive night with 3 points for them. Mika Zibanejad gets on the score sheet. Philip Forsberg does. Elias Pettersson scores twice. I mean, lots of big names, lots of NHL talent on the Swedish
Mhm.
side. What have you seen from them? Are they starting to grow in momentum? And here comes the team a lot of us thought was
Hmm.
going to arrive, especially after what happened in what is always a rivalry, entertaining game with their loss to Finland earlier in this tournament.
I think Sweden's success is based on how efficient and involved their defense is going to be.
Mm.
Rasmus Dahlin, Eric Carlson, Gustav Forsling. These are like, I can keep naming names. They're just
Yeah.
Rasmus Anderson. Like, they just have an elite
Yeah.
defensive
Broberg.
core on
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
Broberg. I
Yeah.
could just keep going. And I feel like, and I didn't even name Victor Hedman. So I just feel like when those guys activate, they're so difficult to contain. And I felt like against their game in Italy, and even to a degree, I'd say the first half of the game against Slovakia, you didn't see them activate enough. The moment they did, forget it. Off to the races. It's over. And
Yeah.
Rasmus Dahlin, to me, is having a spectacular tournament. I think he's their most dangerous player, and he's their defenseman. So to me, I think you talk about a guy that's really kind of like finding his groove in the NHL this season. Rasmus Dahlin is, Norris level play so far this season. And I think he's carried that over into this tournament as well. So something to watch. But they're definitely going to need more creativity from their forwards. Obviously, Raymond is leading the pack, 5 points through 3 games. He's been excellent, in my opinion. And obviously, stamped the end of the preliminary rounds with a 3-point performance. But I just find his speed, his ability to cut in tight, I just find it so elite. And he's such a fun player to watch. Canadiens fans obviously not happy to hear about that, considering he plays for a divisional rival. But I've been a fan of Lucas Raymond, especially internationally, since he was 15, and continues to prove me right.
Upset alert: Latvia 4, Germany 3, and boy, oh boy, I mean, who would do anything different? I mean, Leon Draisaitl played almost half the game. Moritz Seider played, I think, like 27 minutes and change. I mean, leaning on your NHL All-Star talent. But I mean, this was a big upset. Not sure if you saw it coming, but what the
I did
takeaway
not.
from Latvia playing close quarters and then ultimately prevailing in a 4-3 final on Saturday against Germany.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Luck Mellis just clutched 2 goals in this performance against Germany. Like, that's the problem when I talk about depth. Germany has elite players in their lineup.
Yeah,
Stutzla,
yeah, he scores.
JJ Peterka,
Yeah.
Leon Draisaitl, Moritz Seider, elite. But then there's the depth comes into issue. And I think where Latvia really kind of is a little above, I would say, and it really kind of speaks to where I talk about star power versus team culture. Latvia is a tighter, more disciplined, hardworking team because they know that talent-wise they can't keep up. So they have to compensate by just being absolute dogs on the puck. And they took advantage of every opportunity they had. Kudos to them. Latvia seems like they upset every Olympics. They upset in some way in every Olympics or international play. We remember against Canada in the World Juniors,
Of
right?
course.
One player, though, that continues to amaze me, and I want fans to remember this name because we're going to talk a lot about him in May and June. Alberts Smits, 18 years old, eligible for the 2026 NHL draft, likely to go top 5 at this rate. Looks to me like a left shot version of Mo Seider when you watch him skate up the ice. Just an excellent defenseman. And they're bringing him along slowly. is Latvia. They don't want to, overexpose the kid. He is obviously he just freshly turned 18. But as you continue to watch Latvia in this tournament, keep an eye on Albert Smits because he to me looks like a diamond in the making. He just screams Mo Sider, has a wicked shot, is their power play quarterback at the age of 18. Just an incredible talent to watch. And you got to tip your hat to a team like Latvia. Just again, blue collar workers just going to get the job done, and they come out with a victory against Germany, which is huge.
The Olympic men's hockey tournament continues to draw all of our attention, and not just necessarily around Team Canada, but our focus will be on Canada and France on Sunday morning. And DeMarco and I will be here for a recap of that game as Canada looks to, the margin of victory here. You look at some of the betting odds for the Celebrini, McDavid, McKinnon combination. Good luck, France, and let's cheer on a romp. And Marco and I will be here Sunday to give you all the details in the 4-1-1 as we look forward to the knockout round of the men's Olympic hockey tournament. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, Marco. Fun to watch Juraj Slafkovsky perform at such a high level, to be leaned on and to deliver for his country in what has been an outstanding tournament for the Canadiens forward. Thanks, brother.
Always a pleasure, guys. Enjoy the weekend and happy Valentine's Day.
Hey now. Oh, and happy Lane Hudson birthday. He's a Valentine's Day birthday. Happy birthday, Lane Hudson.
Happy birthday to Lane, and congratulations to Julie and Rob.
Let's go.